Good morning, everyone. We've got a small crowd here today, but that's fine. After last Sunday, I thought we were back to normal almost. But my name is Ann King. I'm your worship assistant today, and we're glad to have India Taylor doing our music again. We love India. So we'll start with a song. Please stand for Amazing Grace. If this is your first time here, we'd like you to stand and tell us your name. Is this your first time?
Yeah, my name's Ron.
Okay.
My son Brandon.
Okay. We're glad to have you. You from Boerne?
Yes, from Boerne.
Okay.
We just moved here.
All right. Inside your bulletin, there is a little prayer request form for any prayer request you may have. You can drop them in the offering the prayer basket. It says offering basket with the other prayer request when it goes by. Our own team prays over your request for a week. They're sent to Silent Unity where they're prayed for a month. And for our announcements, I want to remind you, since we're at the first of the month, you're welcome to take the insert out of your bulletin, but if you'd leave the bulletin jacket, that would be good because we reuse those each time. We are back to doing our Sunday morning book discussion from 9:30 to 10:30 in the fellowship room next door. We're doing Buddha's Brain right now. And I want to remind you too that just in 4 days, on Thursday, the Pathlighters special live music and meditation event is on Zoom. Garrett Weiland is the musician, and it's supposed to be really, really phenomenal. So you can see more information in your July and August newsletter. And if you are not receiving the newsletter, or you want to receive the newsletter and the little announcements we put out right before what's coming up, there's a little behind you, there's a little guest register, and you just put down your name and your email address, and they'll put you on the list for that. There are a lot of activities going on via Zoom, which came about during COVID, and they're still going on because they're very popular. There's a Pathlighters at 8 p.m. on Thursdays, a book study with the Mystics Know on Sundays at 7 p.m. There are 2 Course in Miracles groups, Monday at 7 p.m. and Tuesday at 2 p.m. And there's meditation on Tuesday at 7 p.m. You can go to our Facebook page, Unity of Boerne, and look all that up and get directions. And I think those things might be in your bulletin. I can't quite remember whether they are or not. So, Ann Gully, are you ready to read the Daily Word?
Yes, I am. I'll put it there.
Okay.
So, we'll change places. As we quietly and gently prepare for the reading of the daily word, remember that we're in worship with millions of daily word readers in churches throughout the world. The Christ candle is lit as a reminder of the Spirit of God within all of us, which we call the Christ within. The word for today is radiance. The affirmation is the Christ presence within my radiant source of good. On a clear day, when a stray cloud passes across the sky, I notice the suddenly dimmed light. Then looking up, I see brilliant rays of sunlight surrounding the cloud. Instead of hiding the sun, the cloud helps me see and appreciate the sun's radiance. As the sun lights the earth and is the source of its energy, the Christ, the divine presence within me, is my light and the source of everything that I need in order to live brilliantly and joyfully. While like a passing cloud, an obstacle or challenge along my path may seem to dim my Christ light, I respond by looking up, raising my point of view. I am reassured and strengthened, knowing that the divine radiance is shining as brightly as ever. No cloud can dim the divine light in me. In Scripture it is written, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. From John 1:5. The affirmation for today is the Christ presence within is my radiant source of good. My name is Ann Gelly, and we thank you for joining us in the church today.
Thank you, Ann. Now, if you'll please stand, we're going to be standing for a little bit, but please stand for our congregational affirmation. And we'll say it together. In this sacred moment, I realize my divinity. I know who I am and unite with my good. I am strong. I am capable. I am confident. I see myself as God sees me and make welcome this new vision of myself. Remain standing for our celebration song, Living Abundantly. Just a little bit longer, we'll say our opening prayer together. Unity of Boerne is a vibrant, loving, spiritual community, providing a sacred space for personal growth. We honor and celebrate the Christ within all people. Thank you. Please be seated, and I'm going to turn this over to Reverend Jay now.
If you have prayer, requests, needs, celebrations, concerns, there is a page in your bulletin to fill out. If you'd like some time to do that right now, you can do that. There is a prayer box in the back, and I don't see anyone. Thank you, Ann. In the meantime, I'll say that in Unity we know of only one type of prayer, that's answered prayer. And we affirm the good, the pure, and the powerful in all that we say, do, think, and feel. And right now I ask you to join me in blessing these requests. Infinite Presence, we give thanks for your loving touch. We give affirmation to your presence in our lives. We know that as we align with love, we are led aright. And we know that these concerns, as represented in this box, these concerns are dear to you because you are the one that sticks closer than a brother. We give thanks and invoke affirmations of love over these requests and acknowledge and affirm that your perfect will is being done in the lives of these dear ones right now. And so it is. Amen.
This is an encouraging song I wrote about making your life a divine adventure and that you have everything that it takes. That's why the song is called You've Got This. Why should you ask the odds? Why drown your dreams in facts? Why not leave room for courage? Who else to be exact? You'll never stay down low. Oh no, not big or tough. Each time you try, believe it. It's all a little stuff. 'Cause you know you are enough. You got this, yeah, you got this. You don't have to know how yet. You got this, yeah, you got this. With each step you dare to tread, you got the faith to keep hope alive. You got the dream, you feel the joy, the winner's heart inside. You've got this. Why should you settle for places you've been before when you can trade some history for mysteries to explore? A challenge makes you strong. Each hurdle makes you smart. Don't matter where you came from or if you're off the charts. You're guided by a fierce little spark. You got this, yeah, you got this. You don't have to know how yet. You got this, yeah, you got this. With each step you dare to tread, you got the faith to keep hope alive. You got the dream, you feel the joy, a winner's heart inside. You got this. If the first steps have you reeling, you know fear is not your name. It is life that you are feeling, and excitement flows clear. You got this, yeah, you got this. You don't have to know how yet. You got this, yeah, you got this. With each step you dare to tread, you got the faith to keep hope alive. You got the dream, you feel the joy, a winner's heart inside. You got this, you got a winner's heart inside. You got this.
Thank you, India. Good morning. Welcome to Unity of Boerne, especially to our two new visitors. This morning, I'd like to talk to you about the adventure of your life. How many of you like adventures? I guess it also depends on the type, but for instance, getting to work here sometimes in the past 2 years was an adventure going up I-10 that I felt like I could do without. But mostly, I love adventure, and I think we all do because even if we think we're going through challenging times and things that we wish we didn't have to necessarily go through, we read books, we watch movies, we want to see how one thing begins and how the protagonist or the hero or the anti-hero gets through the whole thing and comes out the end. And sometimes I think that we do this with our own life, and in so doing we miss what Spencer Johnson calls the precious present. That moment that we live and move and have our being, otherwise known as the now, as Eckhart Tolle made so famous 20-something years ago when he wrote his wonderful book, The Power of Now. But the adventure that I'm talking about, as it does take place in the now, is the one that is the exploration of the inner space of you, regardless of what it is you're facing on the outside. For example, you've probably heard the old poem that says, two men looked through prison bars. One saw mud and the other saw stars. I think life is greatly influenced by the perspective that we have, and I would say the perceptions that we have, and the projection we have. Projection's a fancy term used by psychologists, but basically says that we give out to others what we have inside. We see the world a certain way through the lens of what we hold dear and what we believe. And many times what we're holding dear and what we believe no longer serves us, and we don't quite know how to let it go, because it has been a part of us, and after all, it was an adventure at the time. I mean, it may not have felt fun, but gosh, I earned my stripes and I went through it. That's a semi-positive way to look at it, but I think the best way to approach this in the truth of our being is to realize that the experiences of life come to make us, not break us. This not just pithy little quotes. This is something that I believe in my very essence. I believe that life is set up for our higher learning, for our advancement, and for our growth. I believe that we are here on purpose, and that we have much more power than we've been led to believe. In our Sunday morning book studies, we're actually studying about how the brain forms our experience through our predominant thoughts. Hello, New Thought said this 130 years ago. In fact, Ralph Waldo Emerson had much to say about the idea of attitude and what we bring to life's circumstances. To me, I see modern science catching up with the revelation of the wonderful ideas of New Thought so long ago. And I admit to a certain love of the old writings because it was so fresh and so new. And those folks that wrote, for example, Nona Brooks, Emily Cady, I've mentioned the names before, they were all pioneers in a new way of thinking. That said that the old ways of talking about a three-tiered universe, heaven, earth, and hell, and miserable sinners in need of grace, did not work in the long run. And I'll tell you probably why that isn't the case, and it probably still doesn't today, because people who are looking to expiate guilt want a quick release that's promised by whoever the leader may be or group, and for a moment they feel good, but they still carry this on with them. I believe there's another way to live. We don't do that in Unity, but unfortunately it happens many times what we call the traditional mainline church. As I've said last week, you need what we have, you're going to have what we have if you agree, and you are only approved by us if you do it our way. In New Thought, the adventure is I'm going to go in and unwrap this package called me. Am I my name? Am I what my mother said, my father said, my friend said, my grandparents said? Really, who am I? Well, the first and most important principle to me is that we are the truth. We are love. It's not so much that we have to love outside, we have to recognize we are love, and then we can't help but show that to the world and the people that are around us. And when we do that, we're not adhering to a doctrine or a creed, we're adhering to the truth of being. And the truth of being, as taught by Unity and as taught by New Thought, is God is omniscient, omnipresent, equally everywhere. So there's no place that you can go where this presence is not. In fact, in the scripture it says, if I make my bed in Sheol, behold, you art there. And I've always found that interesting, the way some of the traditional church says, if God is in hell, it can't be hell. So I have had some difficulty with wrapping my mind around some of the more traditional ideas that the church speaks of. When you put it together, it just doesn't always add up, and that's why many well-intentioned people who start out on a spiritual path may pick up the Bible or pick up spiritual literature, read it through the lens of what they've been conditioned to do, drop it and says, this doesn't work because I don't understand it. But the truth is, you have an understander inside you. And if you don't believe that, think about what moves you. Think about a puppy dog or kitty cat in front of you. Think about a wonderful meal. Think about the prettiest vision you've ever beheld. We all have these things that understand that life is more than the nuts and bolts of reciting certain words and living in certain ways. I'm inviting all of you this morning to stand up on the inside and see your life as the divine adventure it's meant to be. And by the way, while you're going through this adventure, your soul is accruing such valuable information that may be necessary in this life, and if you accept this idea, is certainly applicable and available in the next life, and the life everlasting. I've said that I don't believe the great architect of the universe built a stairway leading nowhere. I believe that we're on a continual journey, and that our good is multiplied by our understanding. The Bible says God inhabits the praise of his people. You see, the adventure of understanding who you are and knowing how to relate to that presence that is deep within you, that never leaves you, and is there to calm, comfort, sustain, uphold, and give you a sense of resolution. And what I like about our way of teaching and thinking and living is that we resolve to follow the truth, and we live generally with a calm, certain serenity that goes before us and understands that no matter what's in front of us, we are on a path that is ours, and we are on a journey that no one else can take but us. We are divine ideas. And because we're in physical form, I think we lose sight of that. We look at our bodies and our houses and our cars and the things, the contrivances and conveniences that we have in our world right now. And I think these things can sometimes separate us from recognizing who we really are. That's why the ancient mystics said, go ye apart a while. Actually, it wasn't so ancient. It was May Rowland in Unity in 1948 wrote a beautiful meditation piece called Come Ye Apart a While. And if you can find that on the internet. It's a wonderful practice that I do to this day. But the mystics of old also went apart. If you'll notice, every time you hear the story about a guru or a spiritual teacher, they are away and they are above the din of confusion of the city or whatever the town may be. But I believe we can also be practical mystics and be able to take that very idea, the very ideas that we love and have read about from these mystics, and apply them right now in the middle of this workaday world. And how do we do that? What's the adventure look like to do that? It means centering yourself, and it means getting to know yourself, and it means not being afraid of those corners and shadows that we sometimes run from, and here we go again, project from. It's been said that hurt people hurt people. You can't have a higher opinion of anyone else than you have of yourself. Really, happiness, joy, love, these wonderful things are an inside job. And any good spiritual teacher, priest, rabbi, whatever the title, will tell you to go inside and straighten out your thinking and your realization of who you are, and then the world will begin to look different. You will begin to see through the eyes of understanding, and your life kicks into the big, great adventure, and you say, I'm ready to see how I can apply this understanding of myself to the next thing that is in front of me. That's really all we're asked to do, is to live a day at a time and apply the truth of being, which I call love, to any situation in front of us. Some people are called on to take wonderful adventures in their lives. Some people are called on to have challenging adventures. Some people have sad adventures. We are a mosaic, and we don't know, we have no idea the reasons why or wherefore someone else has to go through what they do. There's one thing that never fails, regardless of what we see anyone else going through or ourselves, and that is to apply love. The Course in Miracles puts it this way: keep your mind deciding in favor of love. I'm paraphrasing. Always know that you are a living embodiment of love, and therefore you really can't judge, and you really can't be angry, and you know that you know after you have some experience that it doesn't feel good and you don't want to do it. How wonderful it is not to change under the threat of a rod or punishment, but to change because you've been so touched inside that that's all you could do. I remember finding the Daily Word in 1982, and I remember how it was just, it got to me, and I wanted copies of it. And I think I drove that place up there in Kansas City, at least Summit, Missouri, crazy, saying, can you give me, tell me where I get more of these magazines that were even from the past. I wanted to know. I was a sponge for truth. And the reason why is because I was muddling along in my adventure in a sort of mediocrity that wasn't really what I wanted to experience, and I was ready for it. And it guided me and steered me in the direction that I wanted to go all these years. And because of this understanding of myself as being on an adventure and everybody else being on their life adventure, I decided to do some things that were sort of out of character for me at the time. I decided that I wanted to see where one of my favorite football teams played, took off on I-35 and went north. And somebody said, the way you describe it, you ate your way through it. And I did. I ate relish in Oklahoma. I was northern fried chicken in Minnesota. And when I got to Wisconsin, the one thing I remember wasn't the food, but the quarter size or 50-cent size mosquitoes they had up there. They've grown big, and they hurt, and you can feel them. But I stood at the headwaters of the Mississippi, and somebody said, you know, that I talked to, we didn't have cell phones back then, what in the world are you doing in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin? And I said, well, I'm enjoying myself. It looks like I'm seeing what the rest of the world looks like. And though it was taxing at times, and though I didn't know where I was going to sleep all the time, I look back on that and I think that was such wonderful fun. The memories we have are tempered by time. The beautiful thing about the mind is it can take the hard stuff out and replace it where we're remembering only the good. That can be bittersweet because we want to remember those things that are wonderful, but sometimes we overestimate what the experience was because we discount the negative things we feel we had to go through. And yet, we still hold the memories of going through this, or as I did, going through that trip, and making it through all the challenges, whether it was I-35 or side roads or whatever it was. I still got there and loved it and wish in a way that I could do it all over again. If you see the events of your life as the things that have come to make you who you are by the process of your thought, you'll be happier because you will feel empowered. But if you feel that life is something that happens to you while you're making other plans, that life is something that you really just have to put up with and try to scrape by and get some happiness where you can. If you feel that way, you're going to live in a constant state of disappointment and won't have access to the grander, fuller life that's promised to us. Remember the master teacher saying, I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And in his presence they danced and they leapt with joy. I don't believe that Jesus was a somber character, and I don't believe that he walked around constantly with his hands together praying. I believe that he embraced life fully and that he caused people around him to come alive. And what better compliment can we have than when we see people in front of us that call forth our best? And we can be the type of people that call forth the best in others if we recognize not only the love we are, but apply the forgiveness and know very deeply that to forgive, you had to have blamed. So if we take the energy of the negative away, the blaming, the accusing, the judging, and take that back and translate it into a love for understanding for those parts of ourselves that need healing. Because if they were healed, we wouldn't need to point fingers and cast stones and tell people they're wrong. Have you ever noticed how hard it is to upset a happy person? How hard it is to argue with someone who won't argue? And I've said that anger is just a way of someone saying, if you were only more like me, then I wouldn't have to be so upset right now. Aren't we funny the way we project in life? It comes back to us and we claim that we're powerless. We're very powerful, where happiness is truly where it is one thought away. All it takes is a resolute decision to turn from the way things have been in the past, to recognize you're on a great adventure, and if you're the hero of your life, and I like to say be the CEO of your life, which is hire, fire, promote, at will. In other words, hire those people that make you feel wonderful and bring out your best. Fire those that are dragging you down or hurting you or toxic, and promote yourself. You're here on a mission. You are a child of the living God. That is the greatest thing about you. Your worth is a given. It's established. You, as Nico Katsanasa said, you have the canvas. Now throw the paint on there as you wish. And if you make a mess, then put another line in there. Make it something that you want it to be. In other words, I don't believe that there's ever been enough or too much time that has passed that we can't go and make a different decision about our lives. And I think I used this example a long time ago, the idea of the mosaic. I remember getting right up to a mosaic and I saw a piece of green glass. I almost hit my nose on that sharp stuff. And I stepped back and I saw red and white, different colors. And I stepped further back and all of a sudden I saw a pastoral scene. So you see, when I'm right up close, or anybody's right up close to the situation, they're not going to see what they'll see when they get the perspective to step back and look at the glory of what all these individual shards of glass mean and portray. And I'm telling you this morning that the shards of glass that may be affecting you or cutting you in your life can be placed in the beautiful mosaic of your life. How do you handle the negativity? How do you handle the difficulty? Landscape it in. Turn it around. Turn a twist on the negative. You can do that through an act of deciding. I didn't say this was easy. We're conditioned to believe we're powerless. Turn on the television and look at the people who want to run our lives. From the products we buy, to the people that we talk to some, unfortunately, sometimes the churches we attend that say, we know better than your inner knower. There's nobody that knows better than your inner knower, because your inner knower is nothing less than God itself. And when you recognize that and you partake to go on this great adventure, you know you're not alone. You know you're not alone because you have heard the voice of Spirit. For example, if you say, or I say, I can't take this anymore, my question is to myself and everyone else is, who is the one that can't take it? There's got to be a self behind what I am perceiving in the moment. Who is calling out? Is that a set of opinions that I have along the way that I've described as my ego, my personality? Is it a persona that I wear that is impossible to break through? It's not impossible at all. It takes only a decision and the realization that you are more than anything that's ever happened to you. You're a product of your own decisions about what has happened to you. And you can change that anytime you want. Your life stretches before you in a certain repose, and you will meet it according to your dominant state of mind. It's been said that angry people will find other angry people, and happy people generally find other happy people. In other words, it's true, thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. So if you want the adventure to be all that it can be, you start by dropping those things that you think are the essential you, and literally let Spirit retrain the mind that you have. And it does it through forgiveness, and it does it through recognizing that you're here on purpose, and that your main and only function is to extend love to yourself and to others. Everything else is just filler. Think about that for a moment. What do you really remember when all is said and done? Whether love was present or it wasn't. And that goes for you, not just for everyone else. So if we build churches, people who are empowered, who know how to love, because they've gone inside and recognized their own divinity, then we build a better world. But if we accept the punishment of guilt, anxiety, fear, approval seeking, and these things that only end up hurting us, we limp through life with a crippled self-image, not realizing the greatness that is inherent in us. I'm calling forth in myself this morning and everyone out here the inherent greatness that you have and that you possess, and that is the very ground of your being. The adventure of your life will be the best when you decide that everything up till now came to pass, not to stay, and whatever I'm holding on to that hurts is rather like biting down on a sore tooth. It may feel good for a moment, it may feel like you're getting some relief for a moment, but it is as toxic in the long run. You make new decisions, you think different thoughts, you align your opinion of yourself with God's opinion of you. And that opinion is in one area, and I am quoting and paraphrasing from Scripture, you are the salt of the earth, you are the light of the world. Don't hide your light under a basket. Let it shine, but make sure that it's shining as brightly as it should. Don't get in its way by holding on to those things that you think are going to help you when in fact they're hurting you. When you think, I need to never forget what they did. I need to never forget what they said, the awful way I felt. That's exactly what you need to forgive, process, and let go, because you will travel more quickly and more efficiently and more happily when you're not weighed down with that junk. All of us want more life, and all of us are going to be called on to take certain roads, and we're going to meet certain challenges. And I believe that we can do this in a state of grace and happiness by the way that we think and the way we adjust our attitudes and the way we choose to walk through life. This morning, no matter what you're going through, call it the adventure of your life, because it is. And how do you know that it's supposed to be this way? Because it's what's in front of you. And we can argue about the reasons of the whys and the wheres, how, whatever happened, but it still is in front of you. And it will be in front of you until you deal with it, until you, get ready for this, love it enough for the lesson it contains. Not that you love the pain, but you love what you learned about yourself when you went through it and overcame your judgment of it. Now, this is powerful stuff. It's guided me for more than 35 years. I know it works, and I know it's not always easy. But the first step for this great adventure is to know yourself. Haven't you heard that from the great thinkers? Know thyself. There's a reason for that. Because when you do, when you really do, you become comfortable with what you find. You're willing to say, those shadows aren't so bad. I can forgive that. It's part of the human experience. You become comfortable with you. And a person who is at home with himself or herself will show that to other people, and in turn, those folks will feel the same way. This is what it means to really grow a church. It's not the people, the number of people that fill the pews, or how high the steeple is, or what the budget is, or all that. It's how self-actualized, self-realized, and happy people are present. And that's our great mission here. To learn who we are, to forgive what we should, and to walk in the newness of life that was promised to us by not only the Master Jesus, but every spiritual teacher that I have ever read, listened to, heard, whatever. Newness is for you, and it's now. Embrace it, love it, enjoy your great adventure. You'll have the time of your life. And so it is.
In the midst of his children, God said that he would be. It doesn't take very many, it can be just 2 or 3. And I feel that same sweet spirit that I felt oft times before. Surely I can say I've been with the Lord. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel his mighty power and his grace. There's a hope
keeping with the idea of adventure, we don't usually think of meditation as an adventure, but it is, at least it has been for me, because I discover different things when I go inside. And at this moment, we're going to take a trip inside ourselves as we gently close our outer eyes and open our inner ones. We take a deep breath or two. We're centered, we're aware of where we are. And in this holy and sacred moment, we feel the warmth of a small ball of golden light that grows larger and larger as our awareness of it increases. Oh, and in this place there's no judgment, anger, conflict, hurt. There's the ground of being that is peaceful and loving. This is the place where Spirit presides in you. And this beautiful golden light embraces every cell and atom of your being with the healing presence of love. And wherever you feel you need health, wholeness right now, this wonderful light of love comes in and makes new. We are in the presence of the font of every blessing. We're in the presence of the one who loves us more than we could ever understand or know. Old memories that have hurt us, affected our happiness, are released in the presence of this warming glow. We take the strength that we need, and indeed we are recreated and remade. We meet the essence of who we are. We recognize it as perfect, whole, complete. And we're able to apply this love to those situations and people and events that live in our minds, that take away our peace. We can forgive and let go. It's safe. We release every sense of burden or oppression. God's healing light flows through us from head to toe. And we are recreated right now. And we make the decision to allow love to lead the way in all of our living. We truly are transformed by the renewing of our mind. We feel lighter, strengthened, and empowered. It is safe to love ourselves, and it's safe to love others. And as we embark on the next great adventure of our life, we affirm we are safe, we are loved, we are understood, and we are not alone. We bring our thoughts back to the present, feeling renewed and refreshed, ready to face the week with confidence and strength in the loving spirit of who we are, guiding our way. We give thanks for the gift of being able to go inside and recognize our divinity and the truth of our being. And so it is. Good morning to those who are joining us online. This is the time that we celebrate through the giving and receiving. And I know that many of you are touched through our work here, Pathlighters, and through Unity of Boerne Outreach. And I invite you at this time to give the most generous gift you can so that we are able to continue to provide ministry. Our PayPal button is at the bottom of the page. I ask that you give the most generous gift you're able. And if you prefer to send a check, you can do that by writing Unity of Boerne, P.O. Box 1973, Boerne, Texas 78006. Again, that's Unity of Boerne, P.O. Box 1973, Boerne, Texas 78006. I'm so glad that you tuned in this morning. Whether you're Pathlighters, whether you are watching us from wherever, welcome to the house that love built. And we send you our love and God's blessings for you joining us this morning. Right now, thank you. Repeat the wonderful prayer of giving and receiving right now. We say, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I send it forth with my blessings and my love. God bless each one of you.
Love can build a
Oh, I want to get a.
Tom, I wanted to tell you too, when I got this set up, this would not work unless I plugged in the mouse. And I plugged in the mouse, and I-
I've never had this problem, but it's the second time that you
Right, right.
well, just need to plug it. I want to get a copy of that card.
Hi, Ann. Nice to see you. I'm going to give you a hug because we have.
Oh, you're going? Okay.
Yes, we have.
But you're getting all your information now.
I thank you. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yes, you put that down there, and I looked, and I was like, there it is. Okay. I have a hard time with my. Guys, I let my box get way too full. I got to really search for stuff. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
To see you next week.
Next week. Okay. Bye.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you. Ann, can you hand me the money box? Thank you.
Money
The money bag. Yeah, the bag.
Oh, you know, what, we're gonna take it all right now.
There's some in there.
Here, let me put some too. I've got some too.
That's all right. Every single one of us, especially, I will very much of the day. One of my favorite speakers is lesson.
Anyway.
And, yeah, we're hanging out. You find people here come from all kinds of backgrounds. Some haven't left their background.
I'm just so glad to see you again.
Jay,
Yes, sir.
that sermon was absolutely. There's a lot of popular. I couldn't say how great it was.
Oh, thank you.
And I mean, you, the way you deliver it is fuel.
Thank you.
So that we get the message.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, it's apropos of our meeting.
Right? Well, I thought it was a little bit, yeah. Yeah.
And you know how to really serve it, and I compliment you for it.
But I thank you for it. I appreciate it.
And you're doing a great job, and I'm sure you're building an audience.
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
And that eventually will.
It'll eventually help.
So it's great.
Yes, sir.